What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So we've got a Modding and Zeta guide for you guys. Originally I had done this right after the kit reveal because we had an idea of what was going on, but since then we've had some stuff with his event getting pushed back a little bit, some possible balance concerns between Sith Assassin and Darth Revan, and how there may be a 1-2 combo there that could be a little overpowered and breaking things. So they've had to push things back and hinted that they're going to be doing some balance changes. So I've had to make some changes to the overall Zeta and mod guide since then. So I've got that updated now, so we'll go ahead and dive into all of that. But first, before we go any further, today's video is sponsored by Skillshare.com. If you don't know what that website is, it hosts more than 27,000 different classes for a lot of different fields out there, talking about things like design, illustration, businesses, photo and film production, entrepreneurship. There are so many different classes that you can go into and take these different things. Like, you can see all the options here, and since we focus primarily on a mobile game, we can go over and you can see that there's actually some classes you can take for game design, developing video games. Whether you want to, build up your skills for something, you're trying to join the video game development business. It is a growing field, so there's different classes here, mostly focused on the Unity engine, but really these are a great way to help you figure out how to program for games and really help develop your skills there. So if you guys are interested in checking out any of the classes on Skillshare.com, there is a link to it down below in the video description. The first 500 people to click on that will get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium, so definitely check it out. I highly recommend it. Now, the big change that I'm making from before is that originally I had Darth Revan listed as the fastest character. I believe he's going to be the fastest character. They may change that to make Sith Assassin the fastest character because there's some different stuff going on with ferocity. And the way that I'm going to change some things is talking about the mod there. I'm going to have 2 different situations based on who's the fastest character. If it's Sith Assassin and Darth Revan, whichever one's going to be the faster base speed, they're going to have a certain set of mods, and then we'll talk about what to expect with the other set of mods for the other character if they're the second fastest. So that's going to change overall. Really, HK-47, Bastila, Sith Trooper, and Sith Marauder, all 4 of them, they're going to be the same as before, so there's been no real changes to that, but really the only changes that I'm really expecting us to see are going to be the changes concerning Sith Assassin and Darth Revan. So before we dive into that with those mods, let's go ahead and tackle the Zetas first. For these Zetas here, I have to stress right away, this is a very tentative list because we don't know what exactly the Zetas are just yet, but I have a pretty good idea of what they are on each ability, and so I feel like the 4 that I have listed under required, you're going to need those because those are the Zetas that's really going to help define your Sith Empire team and make them the meta, especially against other teams out there. So the Villain Zeta unique on Darth Revan, that one is going to be very powerful because I believe that is going to be what causes him to follow up with his basic after attacking an enemy who has Corrupted Battle Meditation, Fear, or any of those debuffs on them. Allowing him to follow up with that basic can do some really nasty stuff to the enemy team, like the buff immunity on both the target and the leader, or the cooldown reduction if targeting the leader directly. So that's a pretty powerful one. And then Lord of the Sith, that one seems to be a little more up in the air. I can't quite figure out what that Zeta is going to be, though if I had to guess, it's probably going to be the Death Mark, and the Death Mark on the leader that can't be resisted, that is going to be a very powerful Zeta, especially with the current balance issues that they're having. Even with that getting fixed, that will more than likely still be a very powerful thing because of the unresistible Death Mark. It allows you to quickly pick off the leader. Now, the next Zeta on here is going to be Conqueror, and this one is also a little hard to figure out because it doesn't really specify. One thing doesn't pop out saying what could be the Zeta here. So if I had to guess, I would say it's going to be when inflicted with ability block or stun, dispel that debuff and gain ferocity for 2 turns. Or it could be the can't assist or gain bonus moves if the attack is targeting Darth Revan. Either one of those, still very powerful because it basically makes your team either immune to ability block and stun, or it means Darth Revan can't be mass assist, which means that the Jedi Revan teams are going to have a very rough time taking down your Darth Revan directly before your Darth Revan Sith Empire team really gets going. Either one of those, if that's the Zeta, I would put this here next on the list. And then finally, we're going to have Loyalty to the Maker here. HK-47's unique. This Zeta is going to be the bonus protection, on enemies, prevent them from getting bonus turn meter. This is all about countering the Jedi Knight Revan teams, and if you're going to be fighting in a very heavy Jedi Revan arena, this Zeta is going to really give you a lead up and edge over those teams. It's going to be a huge advantage for you because that is going to really shut down the enemy team, because Grandmaster Yoda is constantly spreading out that bonus protection. Same with Jolie Bindo. Both those characters are going to then make them work against themselves because of the Zeta on HK. So those are really the required Zetas. There's 4 of them, I think, though you could make an argument for not really needing loyalty to the maker if you're not going to be fighting in a heavy Jedi Revan team arena. And for the optional ones, you have Self-Reconstruction on HK-47 that gives him the bonus health and protection when buffs are dispelled on the enemy team. Not really something that's going to change the game and make him like suddenly a really great character. So it's a very situational one, not really a required one. And then you can see Fallen Bastila is down at 7 after pretty much any other Zeta. The Fallen Bastila Zeta, I'm still baffled as to what exactly the point of the Zeta is. There's still no real synergy with Foresight here that makes any sense, so there's really no point to having this Zeta. So pretty much throw a Zeta on any other team that you have out there anywhere, and you'll get a better return on that Zeta investment than Fallen Bastila. It's just that bad. Whoever is going to be your fastest character, whether it's Revan or Sith Assassin, your goal is to prioritize speed over everything else. No matter what, you want to go for high speed. So obviously you're going to want to run a fast speed set on them with high secondary speeds, speed on the arrow, and then when it comes to the primaries on like the triangle, the cross, and the circle, that's pretty much going to be negligible because you only want to focus on that secondary priority. At that point, the secondaries take a priority over the primaries for that because you need to focus on that speed. So it's all about the speed, can't hammer that in enough. But for your targets, you want to go for at least plus 130 speed on said character, whether it's Revan or Assassin. Since Assassin is about 160 speed, somewhere in the area, plus 130 with the speed bonus set from the mods, plus some pretty good speed secondaries and primaries, you should be able to get that pretty easily if you've invested in mods at all. So obviously it's going to become a thing of whoever has the fastest Revan or Assassin, depending on which character goes first, that is going to be probably the meta for this team, because that's going to mean that your team either goes first because of Sith Assassin with the turn meter boost, or Darth Revan can put fear on the entire enemy team and shut them down. So really, it comes down to pretty much who can have the fastest characters, and that's why you want to prioritize speed here over anything else. When it comes to dealing with your second fastest character, whether it's going to be Revan or Assassin, you're going to have a little more liberty over what you can put on those characters. Obviously, you're still going to go for a very healthy speed set on that character, with some primary focus with the speed on the arrow, and of course a heavy focus on speed for the secondaries too. But beyond that, you're going to be able to get a little more of a clear picture of what you can put on primaries for like the triangle and the cross. Offense and crit damage for the triangle and the cross, those are probably going to be your best bet for either one of those characters, because you're not having to then sacrifice speed over everything else. You can go for a best in slot on that mod in a much easier manner. So it's a little more flexibility for people overall when you're talking about the second fastest character. So in terms of that and aiming for speed, at least go for a plus 100 speed. That should not be too bad, though. I mean, having to focus on that heavy speed set on the fastest character, that can put a little bit of strain on your team, but 100 speed on the second fastest character here, that is going to be perfectly reasonable, and it should be a safe assumption to go for, considering you're going to have 30 speed with the arrow anyways. Now, for Darth Revan, I'll go ahead and cover it here with Bastila at the same time. The circle, you can make an argument for putting health on the circle primary over protection on the circle, because with Fallen Bastila in there, he gets something like 70% max health bonus. So you can easily make the case for putting a health cross or putting a health primary on the circle over protection here. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a game changer if you can't put health on there, but you are going to get a better return putting health on that circle, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, next up, we have Fallen Bastila, and the goal for her is to make her fast and also stack some extra potency on her. And with that in mind, obviously run a speed and potency mod sets on her. with her primaries being speed on the arrow, crit damage on the triangle, and then potency on the cross. Do keep in mind, she's still going to be able to do some nice damage to the team, and with this shock synergy between her and Darth Revan, she can actually do some pretty good damage with her Wild Lightning ability if Revan's able to put shock on the entire enemy team. So with that and her second priorities, you need to focus on speed and then potency, and that's because a fast Bastila means that you can also put out more Corrupted Battle Meditation, and with her uniques tied into that Corrupted Battle Meditation, you can't dispel it, and it allows you to crowd control the enemy team. So of course, high speed and decent potency on her. Aim for at least 80 bonus speed and about 55% potency at least. You can build up from there, but the goal here is to make sure she can go fast, constantly apply that Corrupted Battle Meditation, and keep the enemy team under control at the same time. Now after that, we have the other character who has some unique synergy with Darth Revan, HK-47, and for him, your goal should be high offense and crit chance to really boost his damage. Now you're probably wondering why not crit damage, and you have to keep in mind his unique gives him a lot of bonus offense already. Overall, you're going to get a better return on offense for him because of the offensive boosts that he's getting between the leadership from Darth Revan and also his unique. So running crit chance and offense nuts on him, with the primaries focusing on speed for the arrow, crit damage for the triangle, and then offense on the cross, and then your secondary priority should be offense and then speed. The high offense is also going to add into his AoE attack, which does true damage, which of course can't critically hit, but can also ignore the defense on the enemy team, and it hits an additional time for debuffs on different enemies. So you are going to get a lot of true damage with that ability, and his assassination protocol is also going to be able to do a lot of bonus damage against Jedi enemies. Really, boosting his offense is the way you want to go here, so aim for at least 1200 bonus offense on him, go for about 80 bonus speed on him, help speed him up a little bit, but really your main focus should be going for offense on him over everything else. Next up, we have Sith Marauder, and he's a very generic set of mods around him, crit chance and crit damage. The primaries for him should be speed on the arrow, crit damage on the triangle, offense on the cross, and then his offense secondaries should be offense and then speed for the priorities. The ferocity is going to greatly boost his crit chance because of his unique that gives him bonus offense and crit chance and potency for debuffs on the field, and he also gets some nice defensive boosts for buffs on the field, but those debuffs are going to greatly fuel his power, and not to mention his saber throw. If it lands a critical hit on the enemy target, it reduces that target's max health, and that can't be resisted. So crit chance and boosting his chances to land a critical hit with that saber throw, that's the way you want to go, and especially if you're going to be fighting Jedi Revan teams, he also gains bonus turn meter when someone attacks out of turn on the enemy team. So the constant assists with that, and a JTR team as well, that's going to make him a very powerful option in these Darth Revan teams because he's going to become a legit powerhouse. He's going to do a lot of damage, and depending on who you're fighting, he can also be very fast and land a lot of nasty hits in the process. And finally, here we are with Sith Trooper, your tank to go to for this team. At least for now, I'm thinking maybe Malk will replace him as the tank. But your goal for Sith Trooper should be stacking lots of bonus health and protection on him. Your overall mod set should be 3 sets of health, and your primary should be nothing but bonus protection, with your secondary priorities being protection and then health. The reason why you don't really want to focus on defense here is ferocity is going to quickly reduce the amount of bonus defense that he has. He's going to gain a lot of stacks of ferocity. Defense is pretty much negligible on a Darth Revan team, so you want to mitigate that by stacking up a lot of health and protection on him, and he's going to constantly taunt because your Sith allies are using a lot of bonus abilities, and they're going to constantly force him to taunt and counter, so there's no reason to not run him in this team, and because the ferocity is going to reduce that defense, you might as well stack up on health and protection. So with that in mind, aim for at least 30,000 bonus protection on him, about 10,000 additional health, and build yourself from there. Really, the goal should be here to just throw as much health and protection on him, make him as beefy as possible. So that is going to be it for the video right now, guys. Again, I cannot stress this enough. I will change the Zeta list if needed, depending on what the Zetas actually are. So do not take that as 100% the gospel. It is more than likely going to change, and just be ready for that in the future. But overall, I feel like the mods are pretty good. So let me know down in the comments, do you guys have any questions about this? I'm sure there's going to be questions about this modding guide, some things you guys want to know, whether go for certain mod style on character versus other things. There's plenty of questions to be had about mods, don't be afraid to ask. As always guys, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you guys later.